Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome to All Quiet in the Trenches. This is a brand new game just released into early access. I'm really excited for this, especially after releasing another World War I era game just a week ago and bringing that to the channel. This brings an alternative view to the topic, just as that one does, different from one another. Interesting gameplay that we're going to experience here. This game is brought to you by Totally Not Aliens, just a 3-person dev team with some external help. And this is a game that takes inspiration from All Quiet on the Western Front. That, of course, many of you would recognize from a multitude of films that have been made over the years, but more so from the book. Erich Maria Remarque, the German author who served in the trenches of World War I, with 20 titles to his name. Most people don't realize that he's had so many published books over the years, but Remarque, famous for All Quiet on the Western Front, in the native Deutsch, in the German, Im Westen nichts Neues, nothing new in the West. It takes an alternative view to the typical, what we would call Hollywood military story, where it's all glory and it's epic, and yes, there's a lot of action. This is the one that really takes the view of somebody who's been there and doesn't glorify combat. What we're going to be looking at is an RPG that's a narrative RPG with unique gameplay. It's ultimately a strategy game. Let's go ahead and play All Quiet in the Trenches. Taking a narrative approach and following the long war as it is, we're going to begin right into the trenches. Here is where our narrative approach takes its beginning. Monday, March 1st, 1915, in the early phase of war. I could still hardly believe that a few days ago, back home, I had been appointed Unteroffizier in charge of this handful of men. And here they were, sneaking through the trenches behind me, not 100 meters from the enemy positions, with heavy packs and dwindling strength. Franz Wellinger was blond, red-faced, and had a mischievous twinkle in his eye. Alfred Lutze, badly shaven, had so far mainly caught my attention through his cynical remarks. Ferdinand Kummerbund looked small and lost. Jean-Pierre Danner, calmly vigilant and keeping his weapon ready. Exhausted, we finally found the dugout of Lieutenant von Karsbruck, to whom we had been assigned. "There you are, Herr Unteroffizier," he greeted me. "You seem to have taken your time. Surely you are fit enough to start work straight away." The lieutenant's condescending gaze swept over my men and then rested appraisingly on me. Here's the important aspect of the game that we're going to be encountering here in a little bit. Besides the fact that there is an element of combat and survival in this game, and we'll get to that when the time comes, the primary task of what you're going to be doing is balancing the expectations of the officers, specifically Lieutenant von Karsbruck, and keeping the morale of your men, keeping them entrusting you, and not just always going to the beck and call of the officer and doing what they ask all the time. You've got to support your men from time to time and stick your neck out in their favor to keep their trust. This fine balance is what the game is going to be primarily about, and we already begin with a huge question that's going to start one on the right foot, and it's going to hurt the other quite a bit. But as those men have been with me for a little bit, I feel like they're not going to be quite as threatened by the fact that we've been given a direct order right in front of their face, and I plan on following that. So instead of a "my men are tired" response, "Yes, Herr Lieutenant," I confirmed, regardless of how I assessed our situation. This was not the time to make a bad first impression on my superior. Some of my men looked worried, but Lieutenant von Karlsbruck nodded in satisfaction. My adjutant will show you your sleeping quarters. Afterwards, report to me for today's duties. I felt the eyes of my soldiers on my back. Obviously, some of the men resented my lack of concern for their needs. Without so much as another glance at me, Lieutenant von Karlsbruck turned back to the documents on his table. Welcome to the trenches, Herr Unteroffizier. As we get started here, first thing, there is a tutorial. The tutorial certainly is helpful as you progress through the early stages of the game. As I've already done that myself in preparation for this series, I have gone ahead and turned off the tutorial for the time being, but just be aware that it will have a tutorial. I've just got it turned off. But we are right here into the trenches with 4 men under our leadership. For now, they are all in reserve, and we also have a list of changes in terms of things such as rations, mood, fatigue, injuries, and whatnot. And so our update is we've added strained and tired to a few of the men because we've put them straight into tasks, even though we've only just arrived and it's taken quite a while to get here. We've also made the relationship with one of the men worse. We have 2 days worth of rations as we've just arrived, and our abysmal mood is now a good mood. At least there's that. Just a quick lay of the land of what we have in front of us. There is the ability to move camera. There is the ability to encounter other areas around trenches often or around the map. You have your date that it is currently, and this is our progression screen. This is where you're going to progress from day to day or event to event, and in this case you can see there's somebody who wants to talk to us before we can progress. It will automatically progress from each of those. Now that decision that we just made about reporting for duty immediately despite needing some rest, this is where that's going to be displayed. On the left hand side of this badge we have average prestige. That is in relation to leadership, and you can see that it has risen slightly. On the right hand side, this is the mood of our troops, and it has decreased slightly, but it's a good mood currently. So this will rise and fall from level to level, and this is the one that we have to keep balanced. I mean, we want both of them to be good if possible, but we've got to make sure that neither of those get too bad off. Many situations that persist at a given time will be displayed here. This is showing that we have 2 days worth of rations, meaning our food supply is quite low. Tasks to be completed will appear on the left, and we will manage our choices from there. But before we do that, let's find out what's going on with Valinger. We only have the rations left that we took with us. Where are we supposed to get something to eat around here? Go ahead and continue on with another message, and there's the Lieutenant von Karlsbruck. Just in time, I've assigned your group to Night Watch. Assign a few men to it. I suggest you send the rest to the supply depot. There you will get provisions for the next few days. But from now on, managing your group's food supply will be your responsibility alone. This arrow would be to proceed on out of the event, but before we do that, we have selections to be made. And see how we can shift back over to the dugout now that that's been shown. So Night Watch is the task we have been ordered to carry out for the day. We have a single turn to complete that event. That's what the 1 means here. It's going to have a double risk of injury, and it's going to be an exhausting thing to do. Meanwhile, fetching rations is an optional task. You can see how it does not have the required 2 men to do it. Let's go ahead and get 2 men on the task of Night Watch. We're going to choose to send the other 2. We don't need to have anybody in reserve right now, even though there's less risk in reserve. There is injury risk and fatigue that's going to come from fetching rations, but the more you assign to it, the more you're going to get. We need food. And that is our first day in the war at the front. Another communication trench collapsed. Herr Unteroffizier, gather your shovels and bid You have to rebuild it as soon as possible. Now is where the strategic decision making really starts to become apparent. Guys are tired. The tasks we can carry out are going to make them even more tired. And so balancing who is resting and who is not. Well, in reserve, you're not really resting, right? There's still risk of injury. That's the same either way. We don't have to maintain the trenches. It's not an assignment we must carry out. But if we're going to be prepared for attack, it's going to be important to do. And we're going to be in a bad way if we don't. But this is going to make the guys exhausted. Now, to know, we could actually look character by character. We know their morale. That's what that blue bar is. We have their status, physically fit, but tired. They have skills. Everyone is a little bit different. A little fatigued, very fatigued, Cummerbund. So he's the one you would want to leave behind. So we're going to take the other 3 guys and assign them to maintain trenches for the day. And even though there's not anything mandatory, if we delay it, there's consequences. And they tend to be negative consequences. So the longer you leave something, the worse it's going to get. Finishing our second day at the front. It's now Wednesday, which a few hours ago, a roar of the artillery had begun. At first, it was as quiet as the rumble of thunder in the distance, but recently, it had become steadily louder and more threatening. Suddenly, there was a thud, not 10 meters from the hiding spot where my men were huddled. An artillery shell shredded the dugout of our neighboring troop. Pieces of wood and metal flew for meters, and smoke obscured the view. The noise was deafening for a few seconds, then died away as quickly as it had come. An almost eerie silent gasp of shock passed. Then my men and I jumped up, pushed aside broken beams, and searched for our buried comrades. We found 2, for whom all help came too late. A third, however, we could still hear panting. He was lying with his upper body trapped under the fallen beams. His face was distorted with pain, and he was barely conscious. My men stood around him, forlorn, and looked over to me for help. Cummerbund said pleadingly, "Herr Unteroffizier, we must try to help him." Together we lifted the beam from his chest and only now saw the full extent of the damage. His chest looked crushed and his hip strangely twisted. A long splinter protruded from his abdomen and his shirt was soaked in blood. Danner shook his head. He's beyond help. Mercy killing will save him and us both misery. Choices here: get a stretcher, call for the medic, or let us put a swift end to his suffering. That's probably the better thing, or give him a chance. But you want to try to save anyone you can, right? He's probably not going to make it, but let's grab a stretcher. Get a stretcher, I ordered Cummerbund and Danner. First I wanted to get him out of this wreckage and then decide whether I would expose my men to the danger of carrying him to the military hospital. There, the nurses could determine whether and how to help him. Alright, so we now have the task of taking the wounded soldier to the hospital. We also have something else that might be coming up. That's the lieutenant von Karlsbruck. Artillery must have destroyed one of our telephone lines. Instruct one of your men to carry this message to the command post immediately. Looks like the French are planning an attack, and we urgently need more men. So that's an additional task, but wait, there's more. Herr Unteroffizier, the advance emplacement has been destroyed by artillery. Now we're missing a well-covered position there, and the French have an easy way into our trenches. I'm afraid that if we try to rebuild the position directly at the front line, the French will do their best to prevent it. Well, now we have 5 tasks, and we only have 4 soldiers to do it, and this is where things get tricky. It's not just about who to rest, it's about which tasks to complete and which ones fail to complete. If anything, taking the wounded soldier to the hospital is the one that probably should wait, which means he's gonna die, but so be it. He was gonna die anyway, right? With a minimum of 2 required soldiers, we cannot complete that task. Therefore, we cannot assign Vellinger to it. We're gonna have to proceed with that unfinished. We've also added the event skirmish, so there's now a skirmish ongoing. Two of the men are now strained. We've had rations for 2 days, and we've changed to under artillery fire. Unterofficer, why didn't you let us take the wounded man to the hospital? He died now, here in the dirt, writhing in pain, with no hope for salvation. I thought that's exactly what we wanted to prevent. And morale has dropped as a result. We now have somebody who's contemptuous and neutral. Not a good idea. I probably should have just pulled the trigger and taken him out myself. We're no longer in a good mood. Wow, that was a huge drop in the mood with him dying nearby. Okay, well that's it for the day. Now it's about fetching rations. And we're going to go ahead and sign, I think, assign 2 of them. The least tired. Well, that's really only one who is not very tired. And we'll take care of it himself then. Friday, March 5th. For the past day, my men and I have been sitting tightly packed in our bunker while the French artillery rained down salvo after salvo of death and destruction on us. During the hard work of our first days in the trenches, I had hardly found a quiet minute to have a personal conversation with my men. So now that they were sitting next to me, tense and still mostly strangers, I fervently hoped that they would survive the shelling unscathed. Silence between us was in sharp contrast to the constant droning outside. When, after hours, the firing suddenly stopped, a sigh of relief went through the ranks of some of the young soldiers. However, that was the moment when the veterans of the other troops tensed up and began to load their rifles. A cacophony of whistles snapped us out of our stupor as well. The French were attacking. Stay together, people. I shouted my soldiers and led them to our positions in the trenches. Together we halted and mentally prepared ourselves for the upcoming battle. Negative events added, changed to exhausted, rations for 2 days removed. And so begins our first battle, and battle by battle, or larger series of events by larger series of events, are considered levels. So we're going to begin the next level. And here we go. That is the French troops coming up out of the trenches and advancing from their positions. The enemy has superior numbers. We may soon have to retreat from these trenches. Herr Unteroffizier, you and your greenhorns are to collect and evacuate all the ammunition you can find. If we're to lose this trench, at least we won't lose our equipment. Okay, so we have a new task to collect ammunition and equipment. And instead of progressing day by day by day, we're now progressing in sort of a minute by minute state where we choose actions along the front to hold position, to transfer our position, whether advancing or falling back or moving towards the flank, strategic movement side to side, but also searching or suppressing fire or doing what you can to survive. So for now, our status is under moderate fire. We have moderate cover, and we now have the task of finding equipment available to us. To our right, you can see we have an advancing troop of French soldiers. There's 5 of them there. There's an additional 5 soldiers there. I have on my flank 6 soldiers. They're all firing, so they are suppressing fire. Our job is to find resources. So directly to our front, we have 5 soldiers here, and they are still in the trench. 6 soldiers there, still in the trench. Here we have 4 soldiers advancing. And then far off, there's other soldiers as well, other French soldiers. And again, on my flank, I have a couple units of soldiers here that are in hold position trying to attack the enemy incoming. Our job is to collect ammunition and equipment, and right away, just in our area, we have ammunition and equipment that can be gathered. So we're going to go ahead and search. Nobody's feeling particularly good, but Danner's morale is a little bit higher, so we'll get him on the first task and Vellinger on the other. And so that'll be our first action, is to search. It's turn-based strategy, and you can see how the French are advancing on a number of positions. As we begin the next turn, we have to see what happened in regards to the searches. And so Danner didn't find any ammunition, but he did find some bandages. Vellinger, I was able to find some ammunition. We now have available hand grenades that could be used. We have a unit in grenade range nearby, but our job is to collect ammunition and equipment. Using ammunition and equipment's not going to be very helpful to us. We are in grenade range, so we probably don't want to stay here. We're also under moderate fire, so it might be a good idea to get a move on and not just stay put. Advancing to here, well, that's not our task, right? We want to gather equipment. Here, you can see we have an extra icon, that ribbon. That is part of our task of collecting ammunition and equipment. So there is the ability to move and gather, including to here, one position to the right, and there's a lot of opportunities over here. So we're going to try to retreat over this way. That's very low danger. That's good. There's equipment nearby, so we're going to move over to that position. We are in a somewhat advanced position here. You can see we're definitely under fire. We're under strong fire. That's a little bit worried, but we have excellent cover from here, so we shouldn't be under any immediate danger. So we're going to go ahead and search these crates. Danner, again, the one with the highest morale, will carry out the task. And the French continue to move on the flank. Oh, they're advancing just on the edge of the trench here. Holy crap. Not in a good place at all from the looks of that one. Let's go ahead and see what Danner found before we get a lay of what's going on. He was able to find some ammunition, so we're going to leave. We are now back into grenade range. We're under moderate fire. Now we're down to moderate cover as they have high ground above us. Find equipment is removed. Oh, because there's no one left to look through this position. Available hand grenades has increased, but we still have the task of finding equipment. We definitely need to get out of this position real quick, as the French are pretty much right on top of it. So retreating back. A shot pointed in our direction. Throw hand grenade at French troop 4, who are already into the trenches in this position. These guys are in hold. So we're going to send somebody to do that. Sure. And Danner. And search the crates. I'm hit, but it doesn't hurt that much. Only a scratch and hardly any blood. It was just a grazing shot. Lucky me. In a little bit of trouble. So lightly wounded has been added to Danner. Moderate artillery shell added. Enemies on flank added. Equipment added. Change to under massive fire. And moderate cover is wounded. Wait, do we not have any cover from this position? Maybe we need to be moving from this position and not searching. It changes the outcome. There is a search crates still available. Will we search and move? Danner's task, his task is now to return to the group. So he just searched. We're not going to find the results of it until we get all research knapsack. We have covering fire for Danner to help keep him safe. French are definitely still advancing on us. Soldiers, we are falling back. Retreat to the next defensive line. New task is to retreat across the creek, but we still have the task of collecting ammunition and equipment. But we now have a number of events. Danner, still a bit of ammunition and first aid supplies here. I took everything I could find. All the way to here looks like a prime position for us. He'll follow behind, hopefully. Task completed. Collect ammunition and equipment. So we have completed our first task. Light stress is removed, low protection from artillery, light cover added, light equipment added, under massive fire removed, enemies on flank removed. Good. I guess he will return to us, and actually, will he make it? Because there's the French. They've reached him. We'll see if he gets to us. We could throw a grenade at them and have one guy search the crates. Get our guy back to us before we retreat, so let's hope this works out. He's coming. Suppressing them. There's the grenade. He still hasn't made it to us. He's now lightly wounded and highly stressed. We're under moderate fire. Enemies on the flank. Low cover removed. And equipment removed. Available hand grenades increased. Okay, we still want to retreat, but he's still coming. The French are very much on the flank over here, so this seems like one of the smarter positions to get to. It's just one unit right here. Danner, damn, my wound's gotten worse. Please let us escape quickly. I don't know how much longer I can hold out. And actually, yeah, now we're taking fire from all over the place, which is definitely not a good thing. Retreating to here. Moderate danger. We have covering fire, low danger overall. Covering fire for Cumberland so he can reach us. And then cut this barbed wire so we have an escape path. Did he just die? Well, let's see, 2 events here. A few splinters got me. I don't know. Hardly any blood. I can carry on. We've got a lot of injuries here. Done. I've cut a path through the barbed wire. Artillery. I almost got hit. That was far too close. It's a miracle that no one is seriously injured. No, this is not going well at all. Okay, we need to wait for him one more turn. We need to get everyone back together. Not sure which one is Cumberland. If this is him, he's continued on away from us. If this is him, he's now one position away. And we will provide that covering fire another turn. Yeah, Bellinger and Cumberland are there together now. Shocked. Medium stress, high stress, abysmal mood. Oh yeah. Danner. Bellinger was almost shot and has taken cover elsewhere. Shouldn't we follow him? The shot hit right next to me. My heart is beating like crazy. That was pretty close. I think we do need to be in this position. This would get us all back together. That's just not a good place to be. We're going to do that. We've got to move on from this position and let them just make their way to us. Waiting for them to get to us has not gone well. But that's only 2 guys across. We are across. At least 2 of us are anyway. And that's the end of the level. That was rather intense. Following that, we're able to return to a base camp. Saturday, March 6th. The explosions, gunshots, and screams still echoed in my ears. We'd only been fighting for a few minutes, and yet it felt as if years had passed since this morning, and the everyday life back home a lifetime away. To be in the camp now, safely, far behind the front, was surreal. The light-hearted chirping of the birds almost drowned out the dull rumble of the front and the cries of pain from the field hospital where we had taken Danner. My people lay down exhausted on the grass, surrounded by the boxes of ammunition and equipment we had saved, dirty and bloodied, some still pale and trembling. But soon the angry voice of the lieutenant in the distance abruptly broke the supposed peace, even before we could see him coming towards us amidst the tents. "On your feet, men," I ordered, and motioned my men to stand at attention. Lieutenant von Karlsbruck looked satisfied. Seeing the ample supply of ammunition seemed to further soothe his morose mood. "Good job, Herr Unteroffizier," he forced out against his visibly blazing anger. Not that it was a difficult task, but apparently, with this bunch of slobs, you have to be happy if anyone shows even a modicum of competency. Our troops were in the best position for a counterattack, but no, the reserve was too cowardly to take advantage of this unique opportunity we had prepared for them. Lieutenant rumbled without prompting, and now the Herr Major accuses us, of having abandoned the trench line unnecessarily. A disgrace! Henceforth, we will hold the line, come what may. My people did their best. There was no holding the line. Yes, Herr Lieutenant. Just agree with the officer. Yes, Herr Lieutenant, I replied loudly and without hesitation. He nodded contentedly. Set up camp, Herr Unteroffizier. Sooner or later, we'll get our chance to pay back the French, he ordered, and left us to take out his displeasure on others. I suppose we could have agreed with him and that would have made him happy, but you never know what the consequences of that may have been. So good recovery has been added to a couple of guys. One guy is changed to exhausted. We have exceptional prestige added. So even though it's lower, it's moved into a whole different phase. Wow, this is bad mood, right? So very, very happy officer. Now we need to get the men happy as soon as possible. Low food supplies has been removed. We have no immediate notices. We need to set up camp. And right now we have one guy, Danner, in the field hospital where he can recover. But someone wants to talk to us. And it's Nurse Elizabeth. Ah, you're Danner's Unteroffizier? I'm Sister Elizabeth Ritter. I organize our small field hospital here. Don't worry, Danner is doing pretty well. He will soon recover from his wound. Honestly glad you were overwhelmed so quickly. The shorter a skirmish, the fewer dead and wounded. Defeat is good? As far as I'm concerned, certainly yes. Lieutenant can throw a fit about losing the trench line all he wants, but I'm content with not being overburdened and nobody dying under my care, just because we don't have enough time for proper treatment. Glad is that you see it that way too. There are some people in this camp who believe that the war will be decided right here. Complete nonsense. They want fame and glory. As a nurse, I know there's only agony and death to be won here. So true. So true. And very much the message of All Quiet on the Western Front. Even though it's not licensed, it's very much a game that takes its inspiration from that, and it's quite evident in the narrative that we are following. That being said, we have another event here, and this is Field Cook. Welcome to the camp, Herr Unteroffizier. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Anton Zelensky, your field cook. I'm afraid I can't cook anything for you right now, though, as your squad hasn't been allocated supplies yet. Better contact Field Intendant Hennick. He is responsible for your supplies. That takes us to him. You're the new group's Unteroffizier, right? Field Intendant Hennick, responsible for supplying the troops. I'll allocate some supplies to your group immediately. This should last you until the next supply shipment. Talk to me if you need anything. Here's to good cooperation, Herr Unteroffizier. We have options to ask for additional provisions or to offer him help. We can ask for favors. Need to know when the next shipment is. For now, we'll leave. There's someone else who wants to talk. Now that we have our supplies, there you go. Wonderful. I just got the delivery from the field attendant. What size rations should I give your people? If you want to do something good for them, then I would suggest double rations. Just talk to me whenever you want to change your troops' rations. For now, we want to build morale. We know morale is very low, so double rations it is. And that does it for our first day in camp. And that actually does it for a couple of days. We now move on to Tuesday, March the 9th. When I saw the soldier Alfred Lotze at camp, he was inspecting his assigned rifle with great interest, almost as if he was memorizing the design. Keep it up. We want to encourage him for doing that. Taking care of his equipment, that's a good thing. First thing a good soldier does is familiarize himself with his material. Lotze looked up. Professional interest only. I'm a tool baker, he muttered, as if he was in no way interested in being a good soldier according to my standards. Good to have you with us. Your skills could be very useful here. Nodded gratefully and turned back to his rifle. And just like that, we've gone through another week. Double rations added. We've got a guy now tired. We have a fifth member. One guy's dropped to strained. The good recovery is removed, but the lightly wounded is removed. Kummerbund is recovered. Low food supplies has been added, though, and the bad mood is removed. We're back to a neutral mood. The exceptional prestige is still there, but it's on the edge between the two. And Casper Pedersen has been added to the group. Rations, we're starting with neutral. He's clumsy. He's physically fit, but a little tired. He's a big eater. That's not good. Are you Unteroffizier of the people here? I'm supposed to report to you. I'm the new guy. My name's Pedersen. Madame Laroche. Bonjour, monsieur. Are you the Herr Unteroffizier whose people pitched their tents right there at the camp entrance? My name is Marianne Laroche. I am one of the village elders in our community. Since I can speak German, I try my best to mediate between the residents and the village and the soldiers here in the camp. So we could ask her for food, but we're not going to do that right now. That's not a smart thing to do. We'll not make her like us very much. There's somebody else who wants to talk to us. Rats everywhere, Unteroffizier. Herr Unteroffizier. They're devouring our food stocks. We have to do something. That's going to add a mission. Yeah, pest control. Supplies are running low. I would love to give them in more, but as long as the supply situation remains uncertain, I will only serve standard rations. And maybe you should think about giving even less so we can make our stock last longer. We'll have to go with standard for now because we are literally just starting to get things under control as we've just now come back from the front. Villagers are suspect. Keep hearing stories of attacks by Franks on our comrades along the front. Organize some patrols through the village, Herr Unteroffizier. Show the French who's in control here so they don't get any foolish ideas. Alright, well that's everybody busy today, but that gets us through the turn in one piece. Sunday, Lieutenant had demanded that I accompany the patrols through the village personally to make sure that everything was in order. When Lotze and I arrived, the mood in the village was even more brooding than usual. The villagers were sullen. No wonder. Madame Laroche had told us that they'd recently received dire news. 2 of their men had been killed in battle. The women fell silent when they saw us, with no more than cold, angry looks for a greeting. What few children were out playing did a little more than listlessly kicking an empty tin around. The mood seemed to affect Lotze as well. Compassion crept into his eyes, and he slowed his steps. Reached into his pocket to produce a little block of chocolate. I followed his uncertain gaze over to the children. Lotze didn't hesitate and wandered over the kids. When he held out the hand with the chocolate, curiosity drew them nearer. But the gathered women quickly called their children back before they could take a piece. Then the mothers cast us dark looks and hissed something in French that made it quite clear that it was time for us to move on. One day, Kummerbund was supposed to receive an exceptionally large Liebesgabe today. I'm not sure what the Gabe is, but the Liebes is love. Love package, I suppose is what that would translate as. This particular parcel contained a generic letter of encouragement and quite a few cans of it's not to make him happy. We're not going to steal it. If he wants to share it, he can share it. It's not to make him happy. I assumed it was proven right in short order. He was virtually beaming with joy when he opened the package and brought its contents to light. The following days, he generously shared the Liebesgabe with his fellow soldiers. Bellinger was especially grateful and returned the favor by sharing his gifts from home with Cummerbund. The next day, Lotsa pushed past me and did not even bother to salute. Wouldn't have been a big deal if his icy stare hadn't made it very clear that it hadn't been a simple carelessness. I don't care about a salute. As somebody who was enlisted themselves, could not care less about that level of respect. But something has to be done to resolve this, and I'm not sure if this is the moment to do it. So do we ignore it and let it go? Do we have consequences to teach him respect? Decided to overlook this breach of protocol and simply continued on my way. Hopefully in time we can earn his respect. Positive events have been added. You have guys that are doing better than before. Danner's down to lightly wounded. One negative event has occurred. Double rations are gone. Low supply stock has been added. Oh, Danner's back. Nice. Been released from the hospital here, Unteroffizier. I'm still a bit bruised, but I'm feeling a lot better already. Alright folks, well our first mission is complete. We're back at the camp in reserves, waiting for our next call up. And so far so good on that front. It really, really helps when your officer likes you. I've noticed very quickly they assign so much less, which makes it really possible for you to give your men rest, which is going to, in the long term, make them like you more. Now, to aggressively go after the supplies like we did in that mission meant the mission was far harder than when I ran through with the tutorial. Far harder. We had more guys wounded, we had more guys come out of that highly stressed. So I have more to recover from the men, but with the officers liking us, I was getting 2 missions a day before from the officer. We've had 1 so far in, a week and a half? So time has gone by pretty quickly, and it's allowed us to already get our guy back from being wounded to now just being lightly wounded and back with us. And we've got 5 men ready, resting, and yes, there's going to be events, there's going to be things to do, but it makes it so much easier to manage all of that when everybody's available and improving over time. Now, how much time we have before we go back on the front? Well, you'll have to watch next time to find out. If you liked what you saw here, please like and comment. The algorithm, it's really important, especially with a smaller channel and a niche title such as this. But I've really enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to playing a lot more. And with the strategy elements of this game, it's going to be a pretty interesting story to go with it. I'm looking forward to playing some more of this, but help me get it out there. Again, like and comment will help with that algorithm immensely. And of course, subscribe for more action on the channel. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.